There are no victory laps in the world of realignment, but we do have the news, guys. This is what I've been saying for the past year now. A group of Big Ten presidents has begun discussions on potential expansion, the big bombshell, in light of Pac-12 uncertainty, according to industry sources there at Yahoo. Focuses on possibly adding Oregon and Washington to move to 18 members, or Cal and Stanford to reach 20. There has also been some discussions around possibly taking Oregon and Stanford instead of Oregon and Washington. It depends, but I have also heard rumors that Washington is not talking to the Big 12 at this point. It seems like they think they're locked in to head to the Big 10. This is all coming out after about a week and a half ago. We heard the Big Ten was closed up. They weren't adding more teams. They wanted USC and UCLA to get acclimated to the conference. Turns out that's really not true. The discussions are in the very early stages, according to sources. No decision, including on whether to expand or stay at 16 teams, has been made or is considered imminent. The Big Ten may also patiently wait to see what happens with other Pac-12 schools and their potential move to the Big 12 before making the call. However, ballooning the league to as many as 20 teams by adding a 6-team West Coast flank or a West Wing, including 2024 arrivals, is a real possibility. This is especially true if the Pac-12 falls apart in the near future. By comparison, Big Ten schools will receive $50 million. So yeah, now they're just explaining the whole idea of why this makes complete sense for everyone. This is what I've been saying. It makes, when you look at the travel, when you look at balancing the conference, guys, I understand everyone has airplanes. It's very easy to go from city to city, but just in terms of balance, you don't just want two teams clustered on the West Coast with no one else, the closest team being, Nebraska right now, currently to USC and UCLA. So adding possibly 2 or maybe even 4 teams does make sense. Now, this is where the speculation gets interesting, because if they're having conversations, last year it was already reported that it was going to happen. They had already been vetted. It was Washington, Oregon. They were joining the conference. I would say right now, the Big Ten at 16 teams, Oregon is for sure in. The brand, Nike, the NIL money, the facilities, everything says the viewership, the fan base, the stadium, they're a slam dunk to the Big Ten. No questions asked. And then it comes down to who is the second team. Well, it looks like Washington is the heavy favorite right now, based on a number of people saying Washington is not talking to the Big 12. Seems like the Big 12 was trying before they accepted any more of the 4 corner schools. They were trying to possibly see if Oregon and Washington would be interested in a move to the Big Ten. Doesn't seem like that's likely, so they're going to probably go ahead and go forward with taking Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah. And now we're also getting word that Arizona State and Arizona could be a package deal, and if one goes to the Big 12, they're both gone for sure. That's also a rumor going around, which makes complete sense. I think the expectation is this was honestly already all rumored last year. It's the 4 corner schools to the Big 12. It's Washington and Oregon to the Big 10. And then we start the speculation. I guess technically Washington and Oregon is speculation, but I do expect it to be Oregon and either Washington or Stanford. I can understand why the Big Ten would want Stanford. But when it comes to the Big Ten getting to 20 teams, this is where it gets weird. Because I know the Big Ten really wants Notre Dame. Maybe that's not going to happen, but it does seem very unlikely that they would shut that out completely. And going to 20 teams, at least at this stage, seems like it would shut it out for the next several years. Now, is there a potential advancement past 20 teams? I mean, maybe. It kind of feels like if the Big Ten does do this and takes 4 teams and really creates that West Wing, with Stanford and Cal, and Stanford and Cal would obviously be added academic institutions, very, very solid brands in terms of that space, not great in terms of football, but really, if you're adding Oregon, that more than makes up for it because now you have USC and Oregon from the West Coast. Those are the 2 premier programs, so you'd be perfectly fine with that. And then Washington's a good team. You really don't need a superpower on top of it, but I do think Notre Dame is the big get for the Big Ten. Would they really take those 4 teams and kind of shut that door, at least for the next few seasons? Because if the Big Ten gets to 20 teams, where does that leave the SEC? We haven't heard much from the SEC, and there also is still consistent rumors I've been hearing of possibly Florida State. It's either the Big Ten or the SEC. And I've heard more rumors about Florida State going to the Big Ten. I'll just say that right here, right now. And maybe they're just rumors. Maybe it's not going to happen. But Florida State, to me, it always made more sense they would go to the SEC based on their location. Of course, that doesn't matter. But if you are the Big Ten, you have 0 teams in the state of Florida. How great would it be to plant your flag in that state and get FSU? That would be another major team to add. I do think the Big Ten is probably going to sit back and say, let's go with Oregon and Washington. We can speculate and say maybe they go to 20 teams. I don't know. Either way, that's what's going on right now. Big Ten expansion talks are going on right now, according to sources. Earlier this week, the Big Ten commissioner was doing due diligence on Oregon and Washington, and those have intensified in recent days. But the key remains that the Big Ten doesn't want to be predatory and would only move if other dominoes fall in the Pac-12. So that's a legal reason, I'm guessing. The whole thing is just, whether or not they're the ones that kill the Pac-12 officially or the Big 12 is, it's all semantics at that point. Well, it looks like Oregon and Washington to the Big 12 just isn't in the cards. Well, yeah, it's not in the cards because they're going to be getting paid a lot more money if they go to the Big Ten. Big Ten going to deliver the final nail in the coffin to the Pac-12, and Arizona State, maybe the 15th team to the Big 12 with Arizona. Will Fox pay for Arizona State? And a 16th, who would be the last spot, UConn or Utah? So that creates an interesting question for the Pac-12. If it is Arizona State, they already have Colorado. Who is that last team to make it an even number of teams in their conference? Is it possibly UConn? Do they really want to build a basketball super conference? UConn terrible at football, but really good at basketball. Or do they go with Utah, the more established program? They do not have a good basketball program, but they do have a very solid, respected football program. I do think early indications, although Utah really hasn't been interested in talking with the Big 12 from what I hear, but they're going to be left no choice unless they want to go to the Mountain West. I'll be completely honest. There's also some Utah fans thinking maybe they can go to the Big 10 instead of Washington. I don't see that being very realistic based on the stuff that I've read. This is coming from a Florida State trustee. It's not a matter of if we leave the ACC, but how and when we leave. They don't have much leverage, but there are a lot of people within Florida State. I think the SEC being the most obvious choice. The Big Ten, this would be the dream plan for the Big Ten. It would probably be you take Oregon and Washington, either Oregon and Washington or Oregon and Stanford, some combination of those 2 schools. You shore up a West Wing, and then you go out and you get Florida State because you want to get into Florida, and you get Notre Dame. And you have a 20-team super conference. People rooting for the Pac-12 or Pac-10 or 9 to die is baffling to me. Everyone loses. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not rooting for conference realignment. It's just happening whether we like it or not. I think it's terrible. I like the Pac-12. I like the idea of having a conference based on regions. I think it's good for the sport. Now, the one thing that I can tell fans to try and mitigate their fears a little bit is At least we have the 12-team playoff coming. There's going to be more teams facing each other. It's going to hopefully limit the importance of the regular season, which is what we've been trying to do. I know everyone loves the big regular season games. They're going to be big either way. There's only, 12, 13, 14, 15 college football games a year for every team. Let's really enjoy them. But I do think even with this realignment, the fact that we have the 12-team playoff coming, it's going to make it a lot easier to digest all of these super conferences forming. And also you're going to get loaded schedules, which only reinforces the point of the need for a 12-team playoff. The idea that you can lose 2 times. I mean, take a look at the Big Ten. You're going to have teams probably playing at Ohio State, at USC, at Penn State, at Oregon, all in the same season. If you go 2-2 in those 4 games, that's really good. Well, right now with the 4-team playoff format, you would be completely out of the playoffs because no 2-loss team has ever made the playoffs. So I think we're trending in the right direction. But yes, realignment, the idea of USC being in the Big Ten, obviously it makes no sense because it's all about money. The reason they're doing it is because it's about money and it's not about making sense and having actual conferences that work in terms of regions. FSU president has come out and said, "We are not satisfied with our current situation. We love the ACC. Our goal is to stay in the ACC, but to stay in the ACC under the current situation is hard for us to figure out how we remain competitive unless there is a major change in revenue distribution within the ACC." Yeah, the ACC, it's going to get really ugly. It's going to get ugly quickly. Worst case scenario for FSU, they're going to have to do a buyout, which would be $300 million. At least that's the rumor. They're probably going to have to do some type of crazy revenue distribution, or maybe FSU and Clemson try and rally 8 ACC teams to try and get out of that terrible TV deal that they have with ESPN. One of those 2 things is probably going to be happening because there's no way FSU is going to sit there and make way less money than Northwestern, Rutgers, Maryland. It's just, they signed a terrible deal and now they're trying to get out of it, and there's no easy way to do it. You're going to be penalized no matter what because you're the ones that signed and agreed to that horrible deal at the time. And ESPN gets it, and obviously they're not going to allow you out of that contract without giving up something major in return. So the big news right now, the Big Ten, the focus is shifting. They are thinking about expansion. They're looking at Washington, Oregon. It's been rumored also Cal and Stanford for the academics, but they want the Big 12 to make the first move. They want Arizona State, and possibly Utah all to go to the Big 12. And I think right now the Big 10 senses this is all going to happen really quickly. Let's make sure we have these teams, and that's why you're seeing all these reports coming out that they are doing research and they are looking at possibly adding teams from the Pac-12 to shore up that West Wing. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description.